All right, welcome to today's stream, everyone. So, as I had posted and put out there, we're going to be looking at Leonardo.AI today. And the reason for that is, I'm having a lot of fun with Midjourney and all these image generators, but Leonardo caught my eye because they're attempting to bring in a lot of tools into one location so that you can basically access all these different models, all these different AI dependencies or image dependencies, such as upscaling, in-painting, out-painting, and all these things. They're trying to basically condense all of your needs for AI image generation into one platform. So we're going to give it a shot. You have to be accepted, passed into the whitelist. So this is a little bit about what it looks like once you are accepted in and your homepage, basically. Don't know why. It seems to be a lot of video game or stylized girls, women, a lot of them. Haven't done anything on here. I haven't touched anything to make that happen, but it just seems like that's what's popular. Hey there, EM in the comments. Thanks for dropping in. Anytime during the stream, feel free to drop in a suggestion or a question into the chat. I'm paying attention. So real quick, just how you kind of get access to Leonardo.AI. You go to their website, obviously. You put in your email, you say count me in, and then you'll get an email with some instructions once you request getting the early access. You'll be prompted to join the Discord. So the whole community, or basically like suggestions, things that go wrong, things that go right, are all held here on their Discord. They also have some resources and just links to different things. And they share a lot of images, so you can check out a lot of things that people are sharing and what prompts they used to get those results. So similar to Midjourney, you still kind of get those channels within the Discord, which is pretty neat. So let's get right into it. So I kind of have done my research and reviewed a little bit. You get a certain amount of credits every day, so it sort of refreshes constantly, but also, you could also upgrade and get more credits, have a subscription if you find it that helpful. So at first, you got your home, then you go into your community feed. You can check out what people are putting out now. So this is the most recent things that people are putting out. And what really is astonishing about this is it's probably, at least out of the ones that I've experienced or looked into, it seems the one that is able to rival or parallel Midjourney's quality and ease of use. So we'll get into that a little bit more. Going here into the top section, this has been in the top section for a while and is really, really neat. So when you click on one, you start to see you could actually get a lot more information about that image that someone else has created. So you get the prompt, and then this thing actually has what's called a negative prompt, which is incredibly useful. So things that you do not want to have show up in your image, which after going through all the Midjourney documentation, it doesn't seem like there's a way to do that. You just kind of have to focus in on what you do want and then kind of filter out from there. It's more of a generative process. The thing there is you use up a lot more credits to get the result that you want, whereas being able to put in a negative prompt means you get what you want much quicker, obviously, and therefore cheaper. So we have the resolution of the image, guidance, scale, whatever that means. We'll get into that, I suppose, as I continue to use this. This is my sort of first impression of the software, by the way. I'm very used to image generators and stable diffusion and all that. And I took a look around on the website, but I just figured I'd just give like first impressions over here on a stream, and kind of, if you haven't touched any image generator, this is totally new to you. What I'm expecting is that the UI is going to be really easy to understand. Hopefully this guidance that I'm giving, sort of like as on a first pass basis, gives you some insight on how to work your way around. So then we have our base model. So the base model is actually like what we were talking about, is the dependencies, essentially like the library of images that is being used to call into and create these images. So this is just a standard Stable Diffusion 2.1. All these models, you can research them in Hugging Face. That's where they're all located. When it was created, the seed. So that's actually very important. So the seed is sort of like the starting point of the image, which really determines consistency, right? If you always have the same starting point, even if the prompt changes a little bit, or if you have different combinations of things, like the seed basically accompanies the model. And if you have that model and the seed, essentially, you always sort of have a consistent starting point for generating your image. So locking in a seed is a good way to get consistency. Generate with this model. So we can just hit right here. We can start generating using this model. So that takes us over to this page, but we're kind of jumping a little bit quick here. Personal feed, that's your stuff. Training and data sets. This I'm going to do an entirely separate video on because this needs its own section. It's not something I'm going to be able to cover just on a first pass, but it does give you the ability to sort of take a model that already exists, feed it your own library of images, and start training your own model of an AI. So it really is coming down to this thing where, yeah, you could sketch several hours every day, or get really, really good at Photoshop every single day to get a certain kind of image that you want. And now it's getting to a point where if you have a library of your work, or you have just a library of work that you want to influence the generation of these images, you can essentially create your own models for generating images. So that can be based off of whatever you want, really. Fine-tuned models. So these are pre-existing models that aren't on Hugging Face, but they've been kind of expanded on in here within Leonardo. So we have like Dream Shaper version 5, and it gives you a little description of all of them. Leonardo Diffusion, RPG, typically like role-playing game art. So definitely a lot of the models that you'll see tailored by Leonardo seem to be very tailored towards the video game industry or animated movie sort of character environment type artwork, as you could see here. Okay, so that's it for the starting section, right? Basically a little rundown of how to get your information, how to find your way around, how to start dissecting a little bit of what's going on within the community here and what people are using that's working. So next we have our user tools. So currently we have 3, right? We have our AI image generation. We have our AI canvas, which is very interesting. And we have texture generation, which is in alpha. We'll take a look at that last. But, you know, image generation, we're all pretty familiar with at this point, right? So you have your settings all out on the left. So number of images, obviously, this is going to influence how many credits you use. So if you ask for 4 images at once, you're going to end up using more credits than if you just ask for 1. So you can go ahead and ask for just 1. Prompt magic. So the cool thing here too is very intuitive. You can always hover over these question marks and get a little bit more info about what that setting does. That's nice when you have a guide or a manual built into the UI or built into the interface of the tool that you're using. So obviously it takes a bit more resources to get that set up, so I understand why others don't, but this is a huge win for me as far as using Leonardo. Prompt magic version 2, our experimental render pipeline that may have better prompt adherence. Temporarily no multiplier on token cost, but mid-April this will revert to, or past mid-April, to a 2x multiplier on token cost due to higher GPU overheads. So seems like it'll just be more specific and more tailored to the prompt that you write and not so loose and not so free. For whatever reason, that takes up more resources. You can ask for an image dimension, so your resolution. The selected model has been trained at 1024, so you'll likely find the best results rendering at that resolution, then upscaling. Okay, neat. So wherever we set our model, which is right here, fine-tuned model, Leonardo Diffusion, and it says right here that it is set at a resolution of 1024 by 1024. So it's recommending that we use that, and if we don't use it, it gives us a warning sign. So that's pretty high resolution too. The standard images outputted that you typically get out of Stable Diffusion is 512 by 512, which we do have that option here. And then when you upscale, you end up at 1024. So it's pretty neat that you're able to start out at 1024, although I imagine that does incur more costs. And then you can upscale later, right? That's fine. We can try out the Leonardo Diffusion one. Aspect ratio, so 1:1 would be a square image, 3:4 is like that portrait-ish format, 9:16 would be your phone, and then 16:9 is your TV. I don't have to explain aspect ratios here. That's not what this video is about. Guidance scale, how strongly your prompt is weighted. So there we go. That information that we had before, like how much weight are we putting on the prompt that we're introducing to the software versus, you know, if you want to give it more freedom or less freedom, you want it to be very, very literal, very strict to what you wrote, or you want it to just take some creative liberty. Control net allows you to influence your generations with input images, so we can feed it images also. And tiling, so this can be good for textures or backgrounds, like remember like Super Mario, like you're running along this whole background texture that probably just repeats and it's just mountains and stuff. So that sort of tiling can help a lot here. Image to image, so I can just drop an image into here and then add a prompt to it, or image prompt. So use existing images to describe how the generation should look. So this is the same thing as the describe function in Midjourney, where you're basically feeding an image and you're getting a prompt. So if you want to use prompts that would generate similar images, basically that's how you reverse engineer that. And then there's advanced settings. So if that weren't enough already, right? We do have use fixed seed. So this is what we were talking about earlier as well. So if we wanted to input a seed number out of another image we created, we want to maintain consistency with that other image, we got it right here. And scheduler, so defines how noise affects the generation. So okay, we have to upgrade to modify this setting. I've gone over that in other videos where it's more specific to stable diffusion. Specifically my videos on dream textures, where you have actually a lot of scheduler options. But yeah, I mean, this is neat. Let's give it a shot. So, you know, I'm just gonna leave everything as it was. High contrast, I didn't see that before. High contrast will give you moodier images with more shadows. Turn this toggle off if you find that the outputs are too dark. Okay. Never seen a consideration for that before, but cool. Yeah, we can do Leonardo style, and we will add a negative prompt. So let's do it. This is your first image generation. Please type a prompt above to create your first image. So I'm gonna go with the prompting I was doing for generating the comic book, which is pretty much there. I really just have to decide when I want to release it. But it could be cool to do like some supplemental graphic for it. So we could do vast cityscape with a character standing in center, looking into the distance. And I mean, Midjourney has generally been like, the Midjourney guidelines has generally been like the way that I've been building out prompts that seem to work really, really well, even when taking that into other image generators. So I'm going to use that in this one, and in the future video where I train my own data set, once I kind of get some more mileage on this AI image generator, maybe there's another way to format prompts here. But the way I'm formatting this prompt is how I'm typically grown accustomed to because of Midjourney. So vast cityscape with a character standing in center looking into the distance, and then we'll describe like futuristic, cyberpunk, Italian architecture. We'll ask for, I don't know how deep we can go with this, sports, racing cars. We can ask for fog, neon lights. I think typically I was asking for as well was like a cyan and purple. Was it cyan and purple? I think it was cyan and pink. It was cyan and pink. Cyan and pink color scheme. So now we go into our negative prompt. What don't I want to see in the image? I don't want to see a lot of garbage. I don't know what brings that about. I guess like the dystopic. I was using the word dystopic, which I guess would bring in a lot of garbage. But we'll add that in. No garbage. I don't know if it'll pick that up. What else do we want? Or what else do we want to avoid? This is hard. It's harder to come up with what not to include versus what to include. Any viewers out there, if you're caught up with me on the live, if you want to add any suggestions in here for the prompt, you can go ahead and put those in. I'm thinking I'm going to ask actually for no clouds. I don't want clouds on this one. You can always add those in. This is hard. I guess I want no faces. I've seen a lot of people put that they don't want any nudity. I don't see why that would just come up, but for the sake of YouTube, I don't want any nudity or any nakedness. Not relevant to the prompt, but whatever. I've seen a lot of people that do characters ask for no nudity. Not sure if that's something you have to specify. It seems like something you would specify if you want, but it seems like it's practice on here to include that. Anywho, let's move on. You know, I'm just not gonna mess with the negative prompt too much. Yeah, let's give it a light touch for this one. So let's go ahead and generate with that. It also gives you a preview. So this will use 2 tokens, 150 tokens remaining. So that's nice to know how much you're spending before you spend it. So if I were to change these settings, like if I change the guidance scale, I'm still using 2 tokens. Although at one point I do get a warning sign here. High or low guidance scale can produce unwanted results and image degradation. We recommend using a guidance of around 7. So then why have it slide to 18? Okay. No tiling. How can I prompt magic strength? I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't seem like anything's tweaking the 2 credits used here. Maybe if I ask for 4 images, that uses 7 tokens. Yeah, let's go for that. Let's get 4 options. So that's also nice. I get to see each one at 1024 resolution rather than a square with like these low res images where I have to really zoom in and or squint to see the result. The Midjourney prompt, I keep comparing this to Midjourney. I mean, honestly, let's be real. This is a competition between these two, or it's a competition to bring Midjourney down from the top of the hill. So that was less than 60 seconds, which is pretty neat. That is pretty in line with what I was expecting, what I've been getting. I don't see the Italian architecture inspiration here. I do get this character. Only one of them gave me the character. But it is also kind of the one I like the best. I do like the second one too. Actually, this last one is pretty dope. Although, yeah, I mean, it's a really large car. So here we have our image, and then we have some options here. So we can delete it from our feed, if ever you need to. Download the image, of course. Unzoom. I had read about this a little bit. This will cost 5 tokens. You have 143 tokens remaining for today. Resets in 23 hours. Cool. So unzoom is exactly what you would think. Like we unzoom, we like pan back, and it actually starts building out the image around this one. So I'm definitely going to hit that. Remove background. That's cool. So if you do like vector art, or if you do like a logo design or something like that, you can just have this like take out that background so you have a clean image. That's great. Creative upscale. This can improve images during the upscaling process. This will cost you 5 tokens. It tells you what everything costs, which is really great for you to kind of, it's like how much time are you saving in the creative process versus how much is it costing you to save that time. I mean, you know, once these tools have gotten really, really good to the point where it makes sense to compensate all this infrastructure. They're making a business, right, out of all this technology. This can improve images during the upscaling process. So there's different upscalings here, right? If I understand that correctly. Yeah. So we have 4 different ways to upscale the image. That means increasing the resolution or detail. So we have crisp upscale, a great balance upscaler, which retains a good amount of detail and crispness to the image. A smooth upscaler, an upscaler that works well with a focused subject, but can end up smoothing out fine detail. Okay. Use this if you find the creative upscale is resulting in lost detail. All right. So you have an alternate there for smoothing, but not losing detail. And then you just have the creative upscale. This can improve images during the upscaling process. It seems like each one of them costs you 5 tokens. So before I start painting outward and removing backgrounds and whatnot, let's do one of these upscales. And I want a crisp upscale, because that's kind of what is in line with everything else I've created so far for the story. So something to include in the negative prompt, maybe, like considering that this is it seems to be very tailored at the moment, at least with the models that it has, to the video game industry, which is why I imagine I'm getting all these mountains in the background. So maybe specifying things like that, like if you're asking for buildings in the background or you're asking for a cityscape, I don't want mountains, I don't want lakes, I don't want rivers. I mean, or I suppose the guidance scale, right? If you're just trying to stay very strict to the prompt, you can do it either way. You can either use a negative prompt, or you can increase your guidance scale, so you stay closer to what it is that you've asked the AI. Let's take this first image. Oh, we can access all these just by hovering. Excuse me. Let's do one of these upscalers, a different one. So over there we did the crisp. Let's do the creative over here on this one. And again, in the comments, if you want to drop in a prompt for me to test out here, if you have any questions whatsoever so far that I could have the answer to, go ahead and drop that in. So the upscale definitely seems to take a bit longer than the others. I wish, okay, so something that is missing from here is I wish I could create variations. Like if I have this one, and I want to create variations off of this one, how would I go about doing that? Unzoom, remove. I suppose I would just have to regenerate. So let's regenerate 2 with this prompt. Let's take away standing in center. We'll just leave with a character looking. I don't know, give it a bit more freedom. And then we'll ask here, no nature. I don't want any nature. I don't want any mountains. What else did we get that I don't want? I don't want any birds. It's like all those things I could add if I wanted them, right? Like I kind of want all the hard lifting that I don't want to do. So let's just give that a shot. Maybe let's add in lasers. I added fog. Let's throw some lasers shooting through that fog. And all right, let's check that out. While those are working, because they're working in the background, it seems to be taking a little bit to do an upscaling. We'll take one of these and bring it into the canvas so we can start going over what that is. Oh, use for image to image. That's what, yeah, creating variations should be, right? So if I click here, nothing happened. Oh, it popped in over here on the left, image to image. Init strength. A higher init strength will preserve the original image more. Okay, no warning signs here, so I'll put that around a 0.6. And I guess I keep the prompt. Right? Let's give that a shot. Let's ask for just one. And let's see if it is truly sticking to that image. Although all this is pretty consistent. I don't even need to. I guess, like, I wonder how much more consistent it would be with the seed. So we can try that out. This is pretty neat too. I like this one. Let's use this one to kind of test that idea out. So I want the data for this image. Unzoom, remove, all that good stuff. Editing canvas. So would I have to exit the creator? I think I would. All right, this one upscaled. And this one's still working through it. So yeah, we can see that this one down here was used to create this new image. But it looks identical to me. I mean, I suppose I didn't change anything about the prompt. It's not identical. It's not identical. But I did put maybe too big of a factor of keeping to the original image. So if we tune that down and give it more freedom, let's give that a shot. And I wanted to take this one out to grab its seed. So I think for that, I'm gonna have to back out into my personal feed. And there it is. And I can find over here the seed right there. Copy that number. Let's go back into the AI image generation section. And we scroll down over here. Hopefully we still, I mean, I don't know if hopefully, we don't need that image that we were using just now for image to image. But this was the result that I wanted out of creating iterations out of that other one, is to introduce the character into the scene where there was no character. So we got that done. It's pretty good. It didn't take that long. And that car is much cooler. I mean, they're both cool. Let's scroll down here. Let's get rid of this one. Let's drop in here a fixed seed and we'll paste in that number. We've got the same prompt. So I'm gonna add in, like, I want motion blur and light streaks. See if I can make that even more dynamic with that seed. And we'll hit generate. All right. That's a pretty comprehensive, quick enough overview of all of our options here for generating and iterating on these ideas. Interesting. So if we compare that, I'm gonna go back to, now that we're not gonna use the AI image generation anymore, I'm gonna get into the canvas and the texture generator. But if I look at my personal feed, we're comparing this one over here with this one on the left. We can actually see from using the same seed number is we get similar architecture-ish compared to all the images. They are closer in architectural style, but also the clothing of the character. So if I look at the character here, right, it kind of looks like this sort of ribbed or leveled jacket with some harder material on it, or protective material. And we got really similar clothing on this character. So that could be very useful to introduce, again, that other level of consistency through your images and even in your character. If I ask for the same seed, I ask for the same prompt, same description of a character, and I continue to iterate, I can really get that character to show up consistently through a lot of images and be able to build a story that way, or an object. AI canvas. So we'll take one of our images here into the canvas. If we go to the personal feed, and I'll go over into, which one did I want to do? This one. So this one's the one that was upscaled. Let's go into, I guess, AI image generator, and I can go down here and I can hit edit in canvas. So we bring it into the canvas. And so I can move this square around. So let's say I want to continue painting out over here. So I can move this square to where I want to continue painting. We have different dimensions here. So let's say I make that bigger and place that square right here. And let's see, we have pan. Obviously, we can pan around our creation. We can select this image or this box to move it around. Draw mask. So I imagine a mask is something we don't want to edit, right? So we can try that out and test that by bringing this over. And I'm just going to mask, like paint over this rock, as in I would like to keep that rock, or it's going to replace only that rock. And then erase, mask only. So I imagine like erase would really be taking away. So let's do the opposite. Let's, oh, no, this is erasing the mask. Oh, I erased the image. So you're actually erasing out the image so that the AI can generate over that empty section. So let's do that. I will erase that rock, and then I will go over with the brush, And I'll just brush over this section right here and see if it only paints over that masked section. And we can also upload an image if we wanted to stitch images together. That is very useful. So if I put two images together and then I want the AI to basically create what would be connecting the two images, that's pretty trippy. And then download the artwork, obviously. So we have our settings from before. We have a model to pick from. Stable Diffusion 1.5 or 2.1. I'll go with 2.1. Number of images, so we can get options on what to place in there. I'll ask for 2. 1024, guidance scale again, and tiling. None of that. Oh, we can introduce a prompt. So, I wonder if it'll take the original image's prompt into consideration. So if I said over here I wanted to add row of futuristic racing cars, drivers sitting and smoking. Well, if it tries to put that right over the mask, then we'll know that that's what that's for. And I'll probably just take it out and try that out for the whole section. But yeah, doing some testing here. So no, it actually did the whole thing, and it totally did whatever it wanted. So it did use the colors that are on the original image, and it did bleed into the original image where I masked. So it created stuff in the negative space, and it bled into that original area. And let's see our other option. I mean, that's better, but still not what I wanted. So I would have copy pasted the prompt that I used before and added to it so I get more consistency there. Let's go back now that we know this. You made changes to the canvas. Are you sure you want to leave? Yeah. Yeah. Whatever. We'll try that with, let's say this one. We'll hit unzoom image. That's what it was. So it's going to work on unzooming this, essentially doing what we just saw, like the outpainting, but like just expanding on this image, making it unzooming. It's a great word for it because there's no other way to describe that. Lastly, texture generation. While that works and we come back to it, upload a new object. Interesting. OBJ files. Okay. So I can upload an object and have a texture generated. Let's see. I'm going to just go to my library of models and just pick a random OBJ. Water and glass. Or an iPad Pro. Sure. No, that's not an OBJ. A Mac laptop. Let's see if it can take that. Oh, yep. So there's our MacBook. Cool. Just call it a Mac. Start texturing. This is pretty freaky. You currently don't have any generated materials, obviously. So here's our laptop. Okay, so left click to orbit, right click to pan, and middle mouse button to zoom or scroll. Okay, prompt. I want this to be, you know what? Let's do one of those laptops that have like a screen above and a screen below. So laptop with only screens, and let's ask it to do like, let's do like a holographic effect. Objects coming out of the screen. Let's keep it on cyan and pink. And Apple Computer Company. Let's keep it on brand. Steve Jobs. We see Steve Jobs' face on this thing. That'd be funny. Negative prompt. I don't want faces. I don't want to see faces. I don't want to see keys. I don't want to see keyboard, I guess. Keys is too generic. I don't want to see a keyboard. I don't want to see the color orange. I don't want to see the color red. I don't want to see the color green. And generate preview. This will only use the front face of the object. It will use a total of 5 credits. Generate a full texture for the entire object will use a total of 30 credits. So this is, I imagine, similar to the process I've described before from Dream Textures inside Blender, where it essentially reads the 3D depth of the objects that you've selected, creates an image based on those 3D objects, and then projects that image as a texture over the objects. And what I imagine generate full texture means is that it actually does that from multiple angles so that you actually get a fully textured object through AI. Now the cool thing here too is if this is all in the cloud and it's all through credits, I can exit and it'll still be working. And I can go back and check on my other stuff that I left working, which is a huge plus of not running this locally. Okay, so we had done some unzooming here. This is the original image, and we can see the unzoomed image. Boom. So it is a little weird. Yeah, that's definitely weird. So I imagine we could now take this into the canvas and then start tweaking with it. So let's see. If I go to, gotta click out of it. Where are you? Right here. That's the unzoomed version. I wonder, we didn't look at the crisp upscale. Oh, so yeah, this is the original. And then the crisp upscale is this, which we really just see like a lot more defined edges and less soft shadows. Like yeah, sharper edges, less soft lighting, like a lot harsher lighting. Cool. All right, we'll take this unzoomed image and we'll drop that into the canvas while our AI, while Leonardo's doing the laptop. And we'll try this again. So we'll move this over here. I didn't upscale this one. So 1024 by 1024 means I would extend this image fully. So what if I had it just overlap some, right? So it actually takes this building and some of this tower as inspiration for what follows. And damn it, what I should have done, I'm gonna exit out of this real quick, is copied the prompt. So I'm gonna copy the prompt, cityscape and whatnot. Oh, you have a remix button here too, if you wanted to iterate on that. That's nice. It's cool that it gives you all the tools in a pretty intuitive way from pretty much anywhere you're viewing your image from. Like here, I can just go now to Canvas, probably. Creative Upscale, Download, right here. Editing Canvas on the 3 dots. Okay, so that's our outpainted version. We'll overlap this square right here. We'll paste in our prompt. We'll ask for, sure, 2 options. And let's hit it. Yeah. So the canvas is something that if you exit, you can't come back to. Like whatever you're working on, whenever you're working in Canvas, this is like an AI Photoshop. We do need to export whatever we create in here if you want to continue using it. So for now. Yeah, that's super weird. It keeps wanting to do this like, well, granted, I'm using a different model, right? The Leonardo model doesn't seem to be available here for the canvas. Hopefully that changes, but I am using a different model for generating images than I was before. So that's why we are getting quite a bit of difference here. It's not terrible, right? So let's say I use the mask, increase my brush size, and I paint. Come on now. Oh, I have to accept. Accept. Mask. And now I paint over here. I want to replace that building with something that matches the other one more. Or maybe I want to eliminate some of this building and see if it can just fuse into here. Alright, what if I only wanted to do the mask? Show advanced settings, use the fixed seed. Bringing the seed wouldn't help here because or maybe it would, but using a different model, I think totally changes what the seed means. But we'll try this mask once more. Or we'll try this again with a mask. And with that, we'll come back and check on our laptop. If you have any questions at this time and want to drop it into the chat, we're almost about wrapped here with today's session. Okay, that's interesting. So masking in with some of what's existing. It still looks like a Frankenstein of a building, but it's not bad. I will actually, I think I need to save this, right? Upload image. How do I save? I know I saw it earlier. Oh, right here. Download. Download the artwork. Cool. And we'll exit the editor. We'll go into our texture generation. We'll go into the Mac and check in on it. So there is a material. Let's zoom out and check it out. So it added a keyboard anyway. Oh no, that's part of the model, right? Yeah, it is. Material. Let's see. This is a preview texture. This will only generate the texture on the front. Yeah, not impressed. It just looks glossy. Maybe I did something wrong. Settings, adjustments, mesh adjustment, zoom. I think this also deserves a video all on its own. The whole this whole texturing aspect of it. And what I'm seeing here is albedo. So it looks like we're only getting a normal. I don't know, it just made it purple. I imagine, well, it is an alpha. To be fair, it is an alpha, not even in beta. The AI canvas is in beta, and that's pretty badass. I imagine when it comes out of beta, I'll be able to use the Leonardo model, which means I'll get more consistent if I can use the same model I used for generating the image as using the canvas. Texture generation, you know, still an alpha. I suppose it can do something. I can do more tweaking, but yeah, I mean, this is just a real introductory overview to what we have here. So we're gonna end the video here. Thank you all for dropping in and watching. If you want to see more content regarding designer tools that you can use, I'm very much right here checking out how we can bring 3D artists and graphic designers into using these tools so that we still design and we're not replaced by people who so that we are the people that use these tools, so we don't get replaced. We're not going to get replaced by AI. We'll get replaced by the people that take on the tools. So here we are, right? Getting to know how to work this into our workflow in a way that's viable, in a way that can save us time, in a way that we can produce a higher quality product. So with that, again, thanks for coming in and watching. EM, thanks for dropping in always into the chat. Love to have you here. And I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.